Hey, what's up, everybody? What is happening? We have a new edition here of Around the Bags. I'm Mitch Glessner with Thomas Lemanske, as always, and it's July 18th, and you know what that means. That means that the first half of the MLB season is already over. Boy, it kind of flew by, didn't it?
Oh yeah, it did. I can't believe the first half of the season's already over. Luckily the Royals had a good first half. The home run derby and the All-Star game that's pretty exciting actually. It's more exciting than in recent years past. So it was good to see. It was good to see those two things.
Yeah, and this is our 12th edition here already. We had a couple weeks off here and there just because we've been pretty busy this summer. But I think we have a pretty good show lined up for us here, Thomas. We're going to just kind of talk about the MLB overall, and we'll start off here. We're going to look at the standings right now as of July 18th. Like I said, it's Saturday here. And we got to start things off in the American League East. The Yankees are leading that division, 3.5 games up on the Tampa Bay Rays. The Royals, our hometown boys in blue here, 53-35, leading the division, 4 games up on the Twins.
I still can't believe the Twins are holding on, man. 50-40, 4 games back. They're holding in there.
Yeah, they really are.
And I can't believe the Detroit Tigers 8.5 games back. They're falling off.
Exactly.
Man.
Yeah, that injury to Miguel Cabrera's kind of affected them there.
Oh yeah.
We look at the AL West here, and the Los Angeles Angels coming out of nowhere. They came into the break, Thomas, winning 8 out of their last 10, and the Astros came into the All-Star break very cold. So the Angels are now atop of the AL West at 49-40. The Astros are a half game back at 50-42. We'll take a look here at the National League. And in the East, it's the Washington Nationals, who started off kind of slow, but they've got 3 games ahead on the Mets. Looking at the Central, this might be the most competitive division here.
Yeah, no doubt. Pittsburgh Pirates are at 53-36, and St. Louis is at 57-33. The Pirates are 3.5 games back, but man, those two teams are arguably two best teams in the MLB right now. I mean, that's crazy, dude. The St. Louis Cardinals have won 57 games, and that's one of the best records. That is the best record in baseball. It's just crazy. The Pirates have won 53, and they're still 3.5 games back first. That's insane.
Right, and the Cardinals have a run differential of plus 92. They've been playing outstanding. Great management there, and Mike Matheny, he's done a great job. And then we'll look here at the NL West, and the Dodgers are leading above the San Francisco Giants at 51-40. They're 3.5 games ahead of the Giants. So those are the standings as of right now, July 18th, Saturday. And I can't believe we've already broken the halfway point. So let's get into it, Thomas. And we're going to talk a little bit here about the All-Star break. We're going to start things out with the Home Run Derby. And it was a new format this year, as it was timed. So each batter had 4 minutes to do as much damage as they could. The time kept going, and they were allowed a timeout. What were your takeaways from it? My initial takeaway when I turned it on was I wasn't sure if this was going to work or not, but right. I think it ended up working.
I was with you too. I was a skeptic at first. They changed the format of the Home Run Derby, it seems like, every year, and this year I was, again, skeptic about how it was ran, but, when you put, just in bracket format like March Madness, people love it. People go head to head, and if your winner goes on, and there's a time limit, 4 minutes, and sometimes the matchups came down to the wire, and I'm glad that they had a timeout. 4 minutes is kind of long when you're trying to hit bombs, but I really like the new format. It was more intense, and it seemed like the crowd and everybody liked it.
Yeah, and looking here, the 2014 Derby, there were a total of 78 home runs. In this Derby, there were 159. When it started out, Anthony Rizzo led things off, and he started out really cold, and he was just taking hack after hack pretty much at every pitch.
Right.
And I was just watching this thinking, holy cow, this guy is going to get really worn out really quickly, and he's not going to hit anything. And then out of nowhere, he goes on a string, and he ends up hitting 8 in the first round. And then I was thinking, okay, maybe this might not be so bad. And his opponent, Josh Donaldson, comes up, and then he starts doing pretty well. And then as soon as he gets to 8, it kind of added this element of suspense and drama to it. And then he defeated Anthony Rizzo. So it started off slow, and then it just kept progressively getting better and better.
Yeah, and it was really cool to see Todd Frazier hit those bombs, man. The hometown guy from Cincinnati, and he put on a show for his home crowd. To be honest, I really didn't think he was going to win. I thought Prince was going to win again, just like he did in KC. I think it was 3 years ago, but good for him. Good for Todd Frazier. He hit I think it was 6 in a row.
He
Jock
caught
Peterson.
fire.
Yeah, Jock Peterson definitely did that. Jock Peterson, oh man, that kid can smoke a ball. But I wanted to see someone hit it out of the ballpark, but it didn't happen. But all in all, I loved how this home derby was ran. I definitely should see it ran like this in the future. And
and I thought they had a really, really good lineup of players too. Yeah. Sometimes in the past, the lineups were kind of questionable, but I loved everything about the guys that were in it. I mean, you got Josh Donaldson, Anthony Rizzo, Frazier, Prince, Jock Peterson, Manny Machado, Pujols, and then the young guy Chris Bryant. And I thought it was really fun to see Albert, do pretty well in this, as he's kind of had those down years, but he's had a really good year this year. Coming into the All-Star break, he had 26 home runs. I thought it was really fun to watch him, compete in it, and he did pretty well. But like you mentioned, great for Todd Frazier. That was awesome to see the home crowd really root him on and really get him, pumped up and able to do as well as what he did.
And I think the home run derby could have been even better. Just picture if Bryce Harper was in it instead of Manny Machado and Mike Trout instead of Jock Peterson. That would have been even more stars in there. Granted, the people in the home run derby put on a show, but it could have been even better. But yeah, I mean, I loved how it was the format of it, and hopefully they do it again next year.
Here's the thing: I really like the format,
right?
But I also have to remember here that this was in Cincinnati, a very hitter-friendly ballpark.
That's true.
So the only concern that I have moving forward is once they start playing, in more pitchers' ballparks, I think their scores are going to tremendously drop. And then, I don't know. I really liked it this year. It worked really well in Cincinnati. But I think moving forward, I think it's going to be it's going to be tougher. They're going to have some serious power hitters in it for it to be a show.
Yeah, Cincinnati is one of the best hitters ballpark in the MLB right now. And just picture what if it was in, Kauffman.
Yeah, or Miami.
Yeah, those are some huge ballparks, and people are hitting 10 to 13 home runs around. Who knows? Maybe they're only hitting 6 around in Kauffman. It's a lot bigger field.
Yeah, it's definitely something to think about moving forward. But the Derby was awesome. Congratulations to Todd Frazier, the hometown guy. That was awesome to see that happen. Now we're going to get into the actual game. And we talked a little bit, before in the past shows, how the American League was going to be managed by our Ned Yost, and all the controversy of the Royals playing in it and all that stuff. It ended up, the Royals ended up having, 4 starters on the field, I believe?
Yeah, 4.
Yeah.
That was 4.
Yeah. And, the National League, obviously, I think coming into it were the favorites. But this was a great all-star game. Sometimes they can get pretty boring and they end up being really big pitchers' duels. But, here comes Mike Trout, probably the best in the game. A leadoff home run to spark things. Opposite field, too. It was a liner off of Zach Greinke, who I think is, one of the best pitchers in the game. I just thought this all-star game was really, really entertaining. It kept my attention throughout the whole game. I thought it was really fun to watch.
Yeah, I know. I think Mike Trout really set the tone of the All-Star game. The first time since Bo Jackson hitting the leadoff home run in the All-Star game, so that's pretty cool. But, I think one of the biggest takeaways from this is, the Royals. Everybody thought, I guess there's 3 Royals since Alex Gordon got hurt, but 3 Royals, starting the All-Star game, it's going to be ruined. One team has so many guys, there's no way the AL is going to win. But look, Lo Cain's the one that sparked our offense after Mike Trout hit that home run. He got an RBI double. Esky got a hit. He was 1 for 2. So, the Royals did pretty well. And Wade Davis came in and I think he struck 2 people out. And Herrera was going to come in. He was warming up, but he didn't get in. But, all in all, I think the Royals did pretty well.
Yeah, I thought they did too. And it was kind of funny coming into the game. I made some pre-All-Star game MVP predictions, and I actually predicted Lorenzo Cain to win the MVP if the American League won. That didn't happen, however. It went to Trout for the second year in a row. I mean, that guy's a stud, so obviously he's doing things pretty well. But yeah, Lorenzo Cain, looking at it here, he was the only guy in the game with 2 hits, and he had that really nice double down the line, an RBI. I thought
stolen base.
Yeah, the stolen base too, and I think here was the difference. I don't know if you remember the ball, the flare that was hitting to right, and he kind of pulled up on it. I don't blame him. He probably didn't want to get hurt.
Right.
But if I think if Lorenzo Cain made that diving play, I think he would have been the MVP of the All-Star game.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely a good argument. Mike Trout's, this is the first time a person has ever won back-to-back MVPs in an All-Star game. So, he is the poster boy of the MLB. I had a conversation with one of my other friends, but I thought Lorenzo Cain should have won the All-Star game. If Trout didn't hit that home run, there's no way he would have won the All-Star game. So, who knows?
Yeah, you never know. But, I mean, like I said earlier, the game was really, really entertaining. A lot of good pitchers. I thought it was really fun to see there at the end Aroldis Chapman, the hometown guy, come in and just pounding, 100, 101, 103. And too bad for Mike Moustakas. He had to come in and pinch hit and face that, but that was pretty funny.
That was actually another headline. I think a reporter asked Ned Yost after the game because Ned Yost played Manny Machado over Moustakas, and Manny Machado actually got 2 at-bats. I think Manny Machado played like 5 innings in the game.
Yeah, he played for a while.
And Ned Yost was asked after the game if he has any beef with Mike Moustakas, and he goes no. And Mike Moustakas asked the same thing. He said no too. But I think it was kind of interesting. Why he just put Mike in there and just go up against Aroldis Chapman, coming off the bench cold, but you got a pitcher throwing 103 miles an hour, so he didn't really stand a chance. So I think Ned kind of left Moose out to dry, but it's the All-Star game. It's okay.
Yeah, and another thing to take away from it too, and we were talking a little bit about this, was how young the game was. There were 20 players, 25 or younger. That's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, that just shows you how much young talent there is in Major League Baseball. That's a great sign for Major League Baseball moving forward, obviously.
Yeah. Well, like you said, it's a great sign, and I think that's why the MLB is becoming more popular. Granted, football is becoming. People are realizing the dangers of football and all those head injuries, but when little kids see all these guys coming up through the minors like 21 through 25 years old, it gets them excited and. It makes them put dreams in their head, getting to the MLB. So, it's really good for the MLB to have all these young guys coming up. It's gonna be really fun to see when these guys get into their prime, like 27, 28 years old. MLB is gonna be fun to watch for the next decade or so.
Yeah, it surely will be fun to watch moving forward, and we're gonna move forward here in the show as well, and we're gonna talk. We were originally going to kind of debate, but me and Thomas here just decided there wasn't much debate really in a lot of the mid-season awards. So we're just going to go through really quickly. And our AL MVP for the first half, Mike Trout. Our NL MVP for the first half, Bryce Harper. Our Cy Young for the AL, Chris Sale. And then our Cy Young for the NL, Zach Greinke. And then we did Rookie of the Year so far, Chris Bryant in the NL and Carlos Correa in the AL. So first, we're going to touch on all these players briefly here. But, I mean, Mike Trout leading the league in WAR at 5.4, went into the All-Star break with 26 bombs. And then
now it's 27.
Just a couple days ago.
Yesterday, actually.
Yesterday, I guess. It seemed like a couple days ago for whatever reason. So, but yeah, he comes into the game in the bottom of the ninth and hits a walk-off home run. So now he has 27 home runs.
Jeez.
That dude's doing it all. I don't think there's, any reason to argue that anybody else would win the MVP in the AL at this point.
No, I mean, it's pretty cut and dry. The first half of the season, Mike Trout is the MVP. He's batting what, like 311 right now, which is not one of the best, but man, 311, if he keeps that up, it's going to be one of the best in the league. But he has a slugging percentage of 619, like you said, 27 bombs, 69 runs. I mean, this dude's a stud, hands down. He's only 23 years old. That's one of the most amazing things I've ever heard. It's the first time a person's ever won back-to-back MVPs in an All-Star game. The sky's the limit for this guy. He's only 23 years old, so he's got a long career ahead of him.
Right. He's extremely impressive. We'll move on here to the NL MVP and Bryce Harper. Once again, you can't really argue. I mean, the guy hitting 343 through 78 games. He has a WAR leading the MLB at 6.1. I guess that Trout's WAR was in the NL, excuse me on that one. But it looks like Bryce Harper leading the league in WAR at 6.1. I mean, this guy just is hitting like none other. I mean, his game has improved in just the few years that he's been in the MLB, and he's playing very well in the outfield as well. I mean, the guy is a five-tool talent for sure. He's doing it all, and right now, two youngsters in him and Trout for early MVP for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Bryce Harper's even younger than Trout is. He's 22 years old. So, I mean, yeah, there's no doubt about it. These two are definitely the front runners for the MVP this year. I mean, if you guys ever get a chance to watch these guys in person, please do so. And one of them's in the AL, one of them's the NL. So, whoever you watch, they might play them in the second half. But man, these dudes are absolute studs. It's a joy to watch them every game because it's going to be something different. Diving catch, throw them out of home run, triple. It's something new every game. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, so we'll move along here to the AL Cy Young, and we're going to go with Chris Sale here, and this guy has been unbelievable. I mean, there have been a couple other very good pitchers in the AL in Dallas Keuchel and Corey Kluber. I mean, Corey Kluber, though, has that 4-9 record, which doesn't look so appealing to the eye. Dallas Keuchel leads the AL with 11 wins, 2.14. But, I mean, Chris Sale just comes in and day out, and, I mean, he's a wiry guy, and he just comes in pumping, mid-90s, and just very fun to watch. A lot of wipeout stuff, a lot of strikeouts. He's pitching fantastically for the White Sox. Yeah,
I'm actually going to disagree with you on this one. I believe Dallas Keuchel is the front runner for the Cy Young in the AL this year. I mean, got a 2.23 ERA, 11 wins. Both are league leading in the AL. He also has 137.1 innings pitched, which is also leads the AL. So, I mean, that guy's a workhorse. And the Astros have been struggling as of late, but if you guys have that ace in the rotation, it really helps you. Momentum builder, we got Dallas Keuchel on the mound today. Our odds go up greatly. So, yeah, I believe Dallas Keuchel's the front runner for the AL Cy Young right now.
Yeah, you can't really argue. I mean, they're all doing so well that, right. I mean,
it's up in the air.
Yeah, it's really up in the air. And here for the NL Cy Young, we both kind of pulled up Zach Greinke, but obviously you got to talk about Max Scherzer. So, It's definitely either Zach Greinke or Max Scherzer. We'll see which way it heads the second half. But, I mean, Max Scherzer, only the 9-7 record, but, I mean, the 2.12 ERA, just absolutely ridiculous. Zach Greinke came into it with his 1.48 ERA. That was going into the All-Star break. I mean, these guys both know how to pitch. Zach Greinke had 4 strikeouts to start off the game in 2 innings pitched in the All-Star game. And, Max Scherzer really... it was I kind of wondered if he was going to be able to continue his success moving from the Tigers to the Nationals, and boy, he really has. He's been great as well.
Yeah, I think the only reason why Max Scherzer didn't get the nod, well, they both arguably should have got the nod, but the only reason why Max Scherzer didn't get the nod is because he's 10-7 this year, which I think is stupid because he pitched a lot better than a 10-7 record. It's just his run support. I don't know how many runs per outing he's getting from his offense.
Right. The Nationals, we talked about it a long time ago. They started off very slow until Harper really ignited them.
Yeah. As of late, the halfway through the first half of the season, they really got together and they started winning games. But Max Scherzer start the year off. He wasn't getting the run support, and he has 7 losses at the break. So, maybe if you would have gotten some runs the first part of the first half of the season, who knows if he would have been starting. But, man, that 1.39 ERA by Zach Greinke, wow, that's awesome. That's one of the best. I think that is the best in the MLB right now. So
yeah, we'll see where that goes, but I think it's going to probably come down to those two in the end.
Yeah.
We're going to move here to the Rookie of the Years for both leagues going into the All-Star break, and Chris Bryant, to me, in the NL, really did live up to the hype. I mean, there was so much hype around him after he led the league in home runs during spring training, swinging the bat extremely well, and the big controversy of him being brought up right away or on the Cubs waiting on him. The Cubs did decide to wait. That way they could get an extra year out of him. But Chris Bryant, another guy that's 25 years or younger, he's playing extremely well. He has shown pop in the bat at 12 home runs. The one thing, though, he's been a little iffy here and there with his plate discipline. He does have 103 strikeouts. That's a lot. But yet he's still hitting .266 and an on-base percentage of .375. That's really good. And 51 RBIs. I mean, the guy's doing a lot. 8 stolen bases. So he's contributing extremely well there to that young Chicago Cubs team.
Yeah, I mean, he's only 23 years old, and he's a little older than Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper's only 22. But, man, I mean, this guy's only played in 79 games, and he has 12 home runs already. That's unheard of, man. That is just pure power. But, coming up through the minors, having him being on the Chicago Cubs, that's a big city, big market. He's going to be a star, and I'm guessing he's going to be in Chicago for a long while. But his stats speak for itself. It's crazy he's only 23 years old. All these guys coming up, all these young players in the major league. It's awesome to see, man. It's awesome to see. It's crazy that he's made the All-Star game and the Home Run Derby. That's good to see. And he faced Albert Pujols in the first round of the All-Star or Home Run Derby. So I bet that was really cool for him. Watching Albert growing up. So that's awesome.
Yeah, and like you said, just seeing him work through the minors, it's and looking ahead too, he's going to be a big contributor to that Cubs offense, and they're kind of in the hunt. They might make the All-Star team. But yeah, I think he fits perfectly in Chicago. He's a very humble guy, very soft-spoken, and he just produces day in and day out. So Chris Bryant for NL Rookie of the Year. We're going to look at the AL here. And for me, it's got to be Carlos Correa. This dude has come up, and he just looks like a natural baseball player all around. Good approach at the plate. Once again, another extremely young guy, very good defensively, very good arm. This guy has really impressed me. That middle of the infield there in Houston with him and Jose Altuve is extremely fun to watch. They've got a lot of talent there.
Yeah, I mean, the Astros are going to be a force to be reckoned with in years to come. I mean, Carlos Correa is only 20 years old. He's still almost, he's not a teenager, but he's just 1 year above a teenager, man. And what's really crazy, he's playing 33 games total this year, and he has 7 home runs already. I think the leader on the Royals, I think it's Salvador Perez. He has 14 home runs. So, I mean, holy crap, that's insane. He's batting .275, on base percentage of .310, slugging percentage of .500, OPS of .810. I mean, this guy, even with the glove, he's a highlight reel. Him and, like you said, Altuve, yeah, my bad. Altuve in the middle infield. Those guys, one of the best combos already in the MLB.
Yeah, and once again, we mentioned at the start, the Houston Astros chasing the Angels by just a half game. I mean, Carlos Correa is surely going to be a big part if they want to catch the Angels. The Angels have been extremely hot, though. Mike Trout and Albert Pujols producing extremely well for them. But that's going to be a fun race to see, I think, in the AL West. And who would have ever predicted the Astros would be where they are? I mean, me and you did not see that coming at all. I mean, Dallas Keuchel, nobody really knew who he was. Well, everybody knows who he is right now. I mean, he's pitching extremely well. Their team is hitting the long ball. That's usually been their bread and butter.
I'm going to say something. You just said they're hitting the long ball. You know what's crazy? The Astros had J.D. Martinez, who's on the Detroit Tigers right now. He got traded, I think, 2 years ago to Detroit. J.D. Martinez does. He is tied for second in the AL with 26 home runs. That's crazy. Talking about how many home runs the Astros already hit. Just picture if they still had J.D. Martinez.
Yeah.
Just a little thought to leave you guys with.
Yeah, that would be pretty crazy. But that's been our first half there. up to the All-Star break, it's been a great year in baseball so far. A lot of young talent and a lot of very competitiveness going on in every single division. It seems like every division, I think, is going to come down to the wire. It's going to come down to a couple games for the wild card in each league. It's been a great first half so far, and we'll see how it progresses into the second half. But that's going to do it for our first half here. We're going to take a little bit of a break, as always, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the Royals here, before what they did before the All-Star break and what they can do moving forward. Keep it right here. Hey, what is up? And we are back. I'm Mitch Glessner alongside Thomas Lemanske as always. This is Around the Bags edition 12, and it's Saturday, July 18th, and we already talked about, what happened before the All-Star break, and we had some good discussions there. And now it's time, as always, to get into our Royals discussion. And the Royals were talked about a ton before the All-Star break with, all the voting for them in the All-Star game and the brawls early on. But the Kansas City Royals, as of right now, are sitting at 53-35. That's 4 games ahead of the Minnesota Twins. They've played extremely well at home, 30-16, and played pretty well on the road at 23-19. Still got a very high run differential there of plus 63, so they're beating their teams. When they're winning by, obviously more than one run. They're doing things well. They're putting up a lot of runs, which we're not used to in the past from the Royals. But we're going to talk about the Royals here moving forward a little bit as well. And we'll start things off with Alex Gordon's injury.
Yeah, Alex Gordon, he got a grade 2 strain of his left groin. He was trying to track a ball down in left field, and when he turned, I think his leg gave out. It just didn't look good, And he's going to be back towards September. I think they said 8 weeks was the amount of time, but who knows? It could be more, it could be less. But, with Gordon's work ethic, I kind of expect it to be less. I was watching his interview he had right after the injury, the day after his injury, and he was just talking about getting back to work and just working his butt off to get back as soon as possible. But that injury, it hurts a lot. It really does. He's been arguably our best player the past 5 years. He's been the face of our franchise. KC, he's born in Nebraska, really close to Kansas, Missouri. So it hurts, but hopefully Paulo Orlando and Gerard Dyson, they're going to platoon in the left, and hopefully they can pick up the slack.
Yeah, it does hurt, but like you mentioned, I definitely tend to agree with you in that he has the kind of work ethic to work back into the lineup pretty quickly, as quickly as anybody else would. But, looking at him, he is a guy that we're going to need down the road. Obviously, he's very irreplaceable. His glove in left is unmatched by anybody else, with the platinum glove last year and all the gold gloves that he's won. And he's also leading our team in on-base percentage. Wow. He's leading our team in walks as well. So he's very disciplined at the plate. He's doing a lot of positive things. He's a very good situational hitter, all that good stuff. So we certainly need him back in the lineup as soon as possible.
Yeah, and he's just a leader too. He was I think he's about 29, 30 years old, and it really does suck. He has a player option at the end of this season, and it's his choice if he picks it up or not. And I really don't want to see his last year, or hopefully not his last year, but if it is, I don't want to see his last year in KC end like this, But it is going to be good, him coming back right before the playoffs. So hopefully it gives us a good boost when he comes back.
Yeah, I think he will. But, and like you mentioned too, though, Paulo Orlando and Gerard Dyson, I think they've done a pretty good job platooning out in left field. Definitely. They're just about as good as you can get for backups. You know, they both have great speed. Paulo Orlando does have a little bit of pop in his bat too with 3 home runs. But I think they've been, you know, very good. There was some talk that we might need to pick up an extra outfielder. You know, a lot of people have been very skeptic of Gerard Dyson, but I think Gerard Dyson and Paulo Orlando fit in very well. I like what they can both do with the bat.
No, I definitely agree. The one person I'm skeptic about is Alex Rios. You know, since that dude broke his, was it the hand or his wrist? I think it was hand.
It was his, hand.
Yeah, it was when when he came back after he broke his hand, he just was not the same. He's only batting .236 batting average, .277 on base percentage, and a .303 slugging percentage. So those aren't really the numbers you want to see out of a right fielder, you know. Talking about Paulo Orlando and Gerard, they're batting .242 and .259, both above Alex Rios' batting average. So, you know, and arguably they're both better on defense than Alex Rios is. So, you know, talking about maybe getting an outfielder at the trade deadline, who knows? I've heard Ben Zobrist's name come up. I also heard Justin Upton come up. But, you know, if you get Justin Upton, you're going to have to give up a lot more than you will with Ben Zobrist. So, yeah. You know, who knows what's going to happen. I think Gerard Dyson and Paulo Orlando can handle left field, but I think the real question is Alex Rios and right. I wouldn't be at all surprised if Alex Rios, I believe, is getting paid $11 million, $12 million a year right now. He's only on a 1-year contract. This is going to be his last year with the Royals, hopefully. But you know, I wouldn't be surprised if you see Paulo, or I think you'd put Gerard in left and then Paulo in right, and then Rios is on the bench. You know, if Rios keeps playing like this, you know, he doesn't deserve a spot. I mean, he really doesn't. Yeah,
I'm really glad that you brought up Alex Rios here, and that, I mean, he just hit his 2nd home run of the year yesterday, and here's a guy, you know, we bring in as a former MVP, and he's supposed to supply some power in our lineup, and you know, it obviously it didn't help that he got injured. You know, you never want to see an injury. A lot of times, especially in baseball, it takes guys time to get their timing back and really find a rhythm again. But I don't think you could have said it any better, Thomas. I mean, he just hasn't really produced, and I do agree with you. I think our best outfield could be Kane, Orlando, and Dyson.
Right. I mean, you look at the speed just in that outfield. Oh my goodness.
That'd cover a lot of ground.
I mean, granted, you're not going to have Alex Gordon, who just won the Platinum Glove last year, the best defender in the AL. But you know, having Gerard in left, you know, after the day after actually Alex Gordon got hurt, he made that Willie Mays catch over the. It was over the shoulder, but I think it was actually right over his head. You know, he just looked back. Right over his head, and he caught it, and then he ran over into the wall. So that was a great catch by him. But you know, it's going to be a question with the Royals going forward. I really think that's one of our biggest weaknesses right now. But you know, I guess moving to another subject, bigger or as big of a weakness is our starting pitching, and you know, I think Volquez has definitely been our best pitcher right now. He's 8-5 with a 3.28 ERA. And, you know, after that, it's up in the air, really. You know, our starting rotation has been, man, there's been so many guys going in and out of it. You know, Ventura came back a week or two ago. Danny Duffy came back not too long ago. And Jason Vargas is still doing rehab starts. So, you know, when you talk about getting a guy at the deadline, who do you think, Mitchell? Who do you think we might get?
I think, you know, right now there's a lot of rumors up in the air and whatnot, and a lot of teams, you know, thinking about Cole Hamels and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But it seems like recent reports have shown that the Royals and Dayton Moore is really trying to push towards Johnny Cueto, and I think that would be a great fit. I mean, he's a very good pitcher. I mean, he's pitching pretty well this year with a 2.73. I mean, he is just 6-6. But, I mean, he's a guy that's going to give you consistent, you know, outings. He's going to eat a lot more innings than what our guys are doing right now. You know, he usually pitches to contact more or less. But I think he would be a great addition. I mean, if you put him and then you have Volquez 1 and 2, I think a lot of times when you get to the postseason, that's what it takes, a good 1 and 2.
Right.
And I think if we added him, he would be that really good number 2 in the postseason. I think Johnny Cueto, for sure, we need to pursue him. I think he's a guy that we can go after and realistically we can get.
Yeah.
and he can really help our pitching very well if we would be able to get him.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Yeah, I mean, you're right. Cole Hamels and Johnny Cueto are the two names I've heard as well. Honestly, I don't really want to go after Cole Hamels. His contract, he's getting paid like 15, 18 million a year, somewhere around there.
Right.
So I really don't want to take on that big of a contract. It will be the biggest contract we have if we do actually get him. But talking about Johnny Cueto, he's 6-6 with a 2.73 ERA, and if you put that 2.73 ERA in our rotation, that's right there. It's the lowest ERA in our rotation, and he's 6-6. But like we talked about earlier, the Cincinnati Reds home run derby, that's a hitter's ballpark. If balls fly out of that ballpark, and if you have Johnny Cueto in Kauffman Stadium, who knows what that 6-6 record would be? I mean, I think that happened to Jeremy Guthrie. He used to pitch in Baltimore, and when he came over to the Royals, he had a better record than he did there in ERA. Same with Volquez too. When he pitched in Pittsburgh, he also had a better. He is having a better ERA and better record than he did there. So, pitchers getting traded from a hitter's ballpark to a pitcher's ballpark. It really does a lot for him, and I really don't think the Cincinnati Reds outfield and defense is as good as the Royals. So, I really hope we go out and get a starting pitcher like Johnny Cueto or Cole Hamels. We really need it. That's been our biggest weakness going through the season so far.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. So hopefully we can land something there. Johnny Cueto would be very ideal. I think he would fit in extremely well with the Kansas City Royals. We're going to talk here. We talked a little bit about, injury with Alex Gordon there, and we're going to talk, this isn't necessarily injury, but I mean, it is news, kind of health related, in that how the Royals are going to utilize Sal Perez here in the second half. The Royals only have 5 off days the second half.
Wow.
5.
That's crazy.
That is not a lot. Salvi has already been known to be a workhorse. He catches every game. He's always there. He's a big contributor. He's a lot of guys feed off of him. He's a great defensive catcher, can do a lot of things with his bat.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to see how good Ned is at managing him and Drew Butera behind the plate here coming up in this second half.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. And like you said, we only have 5 off days in the second half of the season, which is not a lot of rest at all. Sal Perez, he caught in 150 games last year. We play 162 games during the whole season, so he only didn't catch in 12 games already. Or that was last season. And talking about Drew Butera, he's going to be our backup. This guy hasn't batted 200 once in batting average all throughout his whole career, and he's played in the MLB 5 years now. He started in 2010. He made the MLB when he was 26 years old with the Minnesota Twins, where he batted 197. The highest he's ever gotten was 198 in 2012, but he only played in 42 games that year. So, he is a very good defensive catcher. There's going to be a big fallout offensively, but, you gotta rest up Salvador Perez. This guy's your centerpiece. I mean, he's your workhorse. He's gonna be your leader. He's your catcher, just like Yadier Molina for the Cardinals. He's arguably the best catcher in the MLB. You don't want him hurt. He did have the little knee injury, I believe, 2 years ago in training camp, where I think he was out for the first month of the season 2 years ago. But you got to keep this guy healthy, especially going into the postseason.
Yeah, and you look at your 3 kind of staple positions in center field, shortstop, and the catching position,
all stars right there.
Right, yeah, and Salvador Perez is a huge part of that. I mean, he was a huge part in the postseason last year. He does a extremely well job, maybe the best in the league. Him and Yadier Molina, of blocking pitches. It'll be interesting to see how Butera fits in. We've only seen kind of a small sample size of him with the Royals, but to me, definitely when Sal Perez is in the game, it seems like our team gels more, and it seems like our offense feeds off each other a lot better than when Butera is in the game. It almost seemed, with that 194 average, obviously he hasn't seen a lot of hits this year, but it just seems to me whenever I've seen him be in the lineup, it seems like our offense just kind of comes to a stop once he gets up to bat. And it seems as if when Salvi's in, he keeps things rolling, and a lot of people feed off of him. He's a funny guy. I think a lot of guys like to be around him in the clubhouse, and he really keeps things loose. And, there's just a lot of good things that he does. It'll be really interesting to see how they split time, really. Is Salvi going to get, 2/3, 3/4, 4/5?
Right.
How much is Ned going to let him go? And I think a lot of that, too, depends on how far away we stay away from the Twins in first place.
That's true. You never see Drew Butera dumping, water or Gatorade on the players after the post-game interview. You never see Drew Butera doing that. Every time it's Salvador Perez. So, that just tells you a lot right there. When that guy's not in your lineup, you're missing a lot. You're missing your momentum starter. He's your catcher. He does more than just hit and field. He calls the pitches and everything. He makes your pitching staff better. So, it's going to be interesting to see. Maybe twice a week, Butera's going to play. But, it's going to be interesting to see going forward this season.
Yeah, so we'll see if our lineup can stay healthy. That's a big issue. We'll see if we can land Johnny Cueto or Cole Hamels. Ideally, it would probably be Cueto because of Cole Hamels' contract is way too big for the Royals to pick up.
Yeah.
It'd be kind of absurd. But Johnny Cueto is very realistic. So we'll see what happens there. We'll see what happens with Sal Perez. And real briefly here before we close things out, Thomas, in this 12th edition of Around the Bags, we're looking here, and Vegas put the Royals as the favorites to win the World Series moving forward after the All-Star game. We're just going to do here our brief predictions. I had the Royals at the beginning of the year winning the wild card to get into the playoffs. But at this point, I am going to go here and say that we're going to win our division. I think we are going to go after somebody. Dayton Moore, he's obviously a very good general manager. He's not stupid. He knows that we need another pitcher. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go ahead and say that we're going to get another pitcher. We're going to be front runners. I think we're going to win the division. I think that we're going to be back in the World Series, and I think it's really going to be an I-70 series. That's what I really think is going to happen. Cardinals. I think it's going to be Royals-Cardinals. All
right. Well, when we made our predictions at the beginning of the season, I said the Washington Nationals are going to win it all, but I'm going to change that, and I'm going to switch it to the Royals now. I think it's going to be the Royals and the Nationals in the World Series. That NL championship games, that's going to be, if it's the Nationals and the Cardinals, wow, that's going to be really fun to watch. But, I think it's going to be the Nationals and the Royals. I really hope we do go out and get Johnny Cueto. And if we don't, it's going to hurt us too, because I've actually heard the Astros are out to get him too. So, you're killing two birds with one stone if you get Johnny Cueto. You're going to get your number one, throughout the second half in the postseason, and then the Astros don't get him, which is big competitors. So killing two birds with one stone, and the Royals are going to take on the World Series. And Game 7 of the World Series, that coffin might happen again. So who knows?
I was going to mention that too as well. Good job from Ned Yost winning the All-Star game for the AL. So if we do get back, which we both strongly believe, I think at this point, at first, kind of coming into the year, it was kind of like, we had a really good year. We're legit, but I don't know. World Series might be kind of a stretch.
I think they're expected to go back now.
Yeah,
for sure.
Sitting here right now, I think a lot of fans really do expect them to get back. Yeah. And like I said, I think it's going to be Royals Cardinals. You said Royals Nationals. Either one of those would be great. But, we talked about how, the youth movement in the MLB, the All-Star game was a great success. There's been a lot of good things in baseball happening this year. The pace of play, just baseball's really, taken a step forward this year. They've done a great job. Sure. Rob Manfred has done a great job. Yes. And I think it would only, it would be the perfect way to end out the year if it was an I-70 series. Mm-hmm. Royals versus Cardinals. I'm going to go 7 games. I'm going to say that we take home a World Series title this year for the first time since 1985.
Royals in 5. They're going to win it at home. I want them in 5.
Wow, in 5 against the Nationals.
Dang right.
Wow, okay. So there's our predictions moving forward. This has been Around the Bags edition 12. It's July 18th. I'm Mitch Glessner. Alongside Thomas Lemanske, we're going to try to get you guys shows every week. We are pretty busy. It's kind of hit and miss here and there, but we do appreciate you guys that are listening out there consistently. We're going to see what happens moving forward here in this MLB season. It's already been a fun one to watch, but we'll see what happens. Hopefully the Royals get back in the playoffs, get back in the World Series, and we'll look forward to next week with a 13th edition. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week.